Hey, we have a Fun with Fuhrmy Friday edition on the phone live from the other side of the state. Fuhrmy, how we doing?
We're doing good, Goose. Thanks for having me back.
We can't not have you back. A little bit of a deterioration here, Fuhrmy, the past couple weeks. I thought I was going to get slammed out. I didn't last week. I thought I was going to, but I didn't. Went 2-1. You were 1-2. 16-14 overall. I'm sitting at 18-12. What's going on here, Fuhrmy? Talk to me.
All right. So last week, I'll tell you what. I never felt better about one of my picks midway through the game than I did the Texas A&M at Auburn game, and I had A&M plus 3.5. They led by 10 with like 5 minutes to go and gave up 2 touchdowns, and I lost by a half point. Kick right in the groin to kick off the weekend last week.
I felt horrible texting you. I was like, unless there's I think the direct quote was, there has to be a catastrophic failure. And there was an absolute.
That was when they were up 10. That was when they were up 10 with 5 minutes to go.
Right.
When you said that.
Oh.
And you pretty much called it, because there's no other way to explain it. Georgia, Kentucky, I had the under. They blew through that, probably with some time to spare, probably 7-8 minutes to go. And then I had Bama late to cover, and that was just a mauling that I think they're as good as advertised. They've just proven it week after week. So 1-2 it is. Back on the saddle this week.
That's pretty interesting about Bama. When I was sitting, when I was sitting with the guys, a lot of them, they took LSU. Is just Bama that good? I hate being like that. Like, that sounds like such a square thing to say, but I mean, really, are they just that good?
I think they are. I mean, they haven't even been challenged. A&M, I think, I think I'm right. I think A&M is the only one who covered, and they covered, the line was 28.5, and I think they lost by like 23 or 24. I mean, it wasn't a close game, really, at any point throughout that game.
No, I just don't get it. I mean, I just find it so fascinating that these high lines keep coming in, and Alabama. I mean, just there's no stopping them. I mean, even this week, the line's gone the other way, which is why I'm like fascinated, because I was kind of looking at it. The Alabama line is minus 22.5, but Fuhrmy, the over/under is 52. Now I know that you're not picking this game. But why shouldn't I take the over in this game? Why should I not be led to believe that Alabama is not going to put up 54 points themselves against Mississippi State, who's terrible?
I know. The only thing that Mississippi State has going for them, and we've been talking about it all year, is Fitzgerald can't throw the ball. So they're going to be a ball control team. I think they know the only way they can stay in the game is if they run the ball successfully. And they can. They might be able to actually move the ball against Bama on the ground. Not that many people have had success, but I think that's the only way. I think if it's long and drawn out, they can shorten the game. Like, if their possessions are longer, they might be able to just sneak inside of that 22 and a half number.
I'm not touching it with anyone else's money. Let's get into something that we're actually putting some of our cash down on. You're going back to the well here with a team that could potentially climb up the college football ranks. Let's talk about the old Bulldogs down there in Georgia, Fuhrmy.
All right. So obviously their game last week, they were at home, they were on the road against Kentucky for the SEC East, and they took care of business. I mean, it wasn't even that close. So I think right now their line is minus 13.5. They're at home against Auburn, who's somehow turned it around the last couple weeks. I definitely like Georgia. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. They have so much to play for with the playoff. They know they're going to get Bama in the SEC championship in a couple weeks. And just looking at their schedule, they get Georgia Tech after this week at Auburn, and they also get Bama, and I think they have one more game in the middle there, which UMass, which you can pretty much chalk up a W. So I don't see Georgia Tech really. I mean, they've been okay. I don't think they can really contend for 4 quarters against Georgia. So their season, if they can get past this Auburn team, it's going to come down to Bama, Georgia, and that's going to be their ticket to the playoff if they can make it happen.
Now, watching this game as closely as you did last week, and I'm specifically speaking of both teams, but, in lieu of what happened with Auburn and Tennessee, is this a sell of Auburn? This is one of those, people may be buying them higher than what they should be. Do you have a feeling that this line is more towards a 14 or maybe even a 17? I know that's a drastic jump, but I'm just curious as to what you're thinking.
Yeah, I don't think Auburn is as good as people think. I mean, they have turned it around the last 2 weeks. They've won at Mississippi and they beat A&M. Who are two, I'll say, quality SEC teams. They're not going to be big time contenders. A&M had they hit stride sort of middle of the season, but just never won the huge games. But I do think it's more of a sell on Auburn than anything. I think Georgia's good. I think they have more to play for. They're at home. And this is going to get them really to the Bama SEC title game because I think they're going to roll the next 2 weeks.
I was struggling this week for me, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm trying to find good holes in games. I'm going to be honest. I always like to be transparent. I took that over last night for Wake Forest and Louisville, and I didn't realize that Wake Forest, their quarterback was going to be out, and then their other quarterback went out. It was just a bad play. So I'm gonna try to strike early on tomorrow. And I love how we're doing this on a Friday. It's actually a little bit more exciting. If we ever do a live show, we'll have to do it on a Friday night or maybe even early Saturday morning. But I like this Illinois-Nebraska game. Something's happening in Illinois. They've been putting up some points lately. And more so than them, I think Nebraska's on the upswing. I think everyone was way too high. I understand coaching is incredibly important. I'm not putting that away. I think everyone was just too high on Scott Frost to start the year. I just think it was, he had this fantastic record at UCF and he's going to do this immediately. I think that the team wasn't good enough, but it really looks like he's the kind of guy that they don't quit on. And I like that. And I like that a lot, especially when I'm putting my money down on it. Now, this line has jumped up another half point. I'm going to pay the juice on it. I'm going to pay 60 to win 50. I like the over 69 for Nebraska and Illinois. Again, this is one of those I can't name a player on the team, but just something from watching these games the past couple weeks is just saying to me, this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I actually really like how it's actually in Nebraska. I think that's good because I think that they have a lot to prove to their home fan base, and I think that this is an opportunity to potentially, even if they don't necessarily win the game, because, Nebraska is, minus 17, so you would think that they would, but just in case something fluky happens, this kind of spread says to me, this is an over game. So if Illinois can at least put up, somewhere in the range of 27, maybe 24, I think Nebraska, without a doubt, is going to cover the rest. But you're going on the total other end of the spectrum here. You're going to defense and run city, and you're selling a team that had a win last week and buying a team that had a loss last week. And I'm curious, you're going back to the well. What's going on here?
All right, so Kentucky at Tennessee. The line is -5. I'm taking the Wildcats -5. Like you said, Kentucky's coming off a loss. They lost by 17 to Georgia in a must-win situation. Let's be realistic. They haven't been in that situation in a long time in football, especially in the SEC. So I think they're going to get back on track. I do worry a little bit about a flat start, but I think their defense is good enough to keep them in the game, and I think Benny Snell takes over at some point. I think he is so underrated. He's had a phenomenal season and career. Tennessee is starting to get their legs under them at least, but they're still 4-5. Kentucky's a top 15 team. They're 11th actually, still on the cusp of top 10. So I like Stoops to get them ready, get right back on the saddle, and if they can end the season with 2 losses, I think that is phenomenal for Kentucky, especially given it's really basketball season. typically at this point in the year for them.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry. We're gonna get into some hoops here later. Probably next week. We're gonna let these games come out. Stacking on Kentucky football, though. One of their last three, they beat a Charlotte team that's god awful, but they played South Carolina pretty tight. They beat Auburn in Auburn. Are those just anomalies? You know what I mean? Are those outlier games that we shouldn't be looking at? Should we be really high on the Kentucky bye here to win by at least a touchdown?
I think so, and then that's why I like it. I just don't think Tennessee. You brought it up. Charlotte. If you can only score 14 on Charlotte, this Kentucky defense is for real, especially compared to Charlotte, right? So I think Kentucky's going to stay in the game with their defense. We know they can't throw the ball that well, but I don't know that they need to. I think they're going to be able to run on Tennessee, and I think they can win by a score, and that's why I like it. I think 5 is a good number.
See, I'm headed in a totally different direction this week. I need games where I look at them and I just say to myself, okay, this is a perfect time to buy the points, because usually in conference play, like a Kentucky-Tennessee game, where that total, I think it's, what is it sitting at? I had it up and I lost it. Hold on
41.
Is it 41?
Yeah.
Oh God! See, that's like an NFL game. I don't even want to touch that, But I'll tell you what. I had a friend who gave me a good look on a sharp play of over 62.5 last week for Illinois and Minnesota, and this is why I was looking at Illinois. And Minnesota gives up 55 to Illinois. Ugh, gross. I mean, that's horrible. But the week before, they put up 38 against Indiana. And the week before that, they gave up 53 at Nebraska. I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know if this boat is being rowed, but I could tell you this much. It is at least taking on water, and it's sinking. And I love the fact that Purdue is coming in off a big win in Iowa, and then, at home against Iowa. But now is the time that I think, again, I'm going with coaching. I think Jeff Brom is stringing this one together. They had the game let down before, okay? It was the Michigan State game that everyone was buying Purdue, and then they lost. But they go to Ohio State and they win. They're at home against Ohio State. They win. They go away to Michigan State, lose. They come home to Iowa, win big. I think this is another away game. This is a must-win for this Purdue team. They have Wisconsin and Indiana, which is no guarantee for them either way. I understand Wisconsin's quarterback is hurt. I understand that those are not the same two teams, but the fact is, if you have an opportunity to become bowl eligible, you have to take it. I think this is not a tight game. That is not how they play. I can see why this line is what it is. It is sitting at 59 right now. And I think that's because the market has taken into account that this game may become slower because a team like Purdue may put up some points and then slow the game down and just say, okay, we got our win, let's get out of here. I don't think it happens that way. I don't see it that way. Give me the over 59 for Purdue and Minnesota on Saturday morning, and that game is at 3:30 as well. So I think it is at 3:30. Hold on, I'm almost positive it is. Yeah, that's at 3:30, and it just went up as I'm looking on my screen. It just went up to 59.5. So I will get it if I have to pay the juice on that one as well. Give me that over 59. But once again, for me, it wouldn't be a show, and I've been looking. And you have an under for us in the SEC football, and you're going home with this one. Talk to me here.
Yep. So I like South Carolina at Florida under 54. Both teams have very physical defenses. They both have proven they can run the ball. I think this just gets drug out, and honestly, Florida's quarterback play has been suspect as of late. Felipe Franks got benched at halftime last week. Kyle Trask came in, did a pretty good job. He was 10 for 18, 126 and a touchdown. So on point for what you can expect as a backup quarterback in a non-really passing offense. And then there's even rumblings that true freshman Emory Jones, he's a dual threat quarterback. He might get some time this week. So Dan Mullen hasn't, to the best of my knowledge, announced what he's doing at the quarterback position. I think that's going to lead to more conservative play calling. I don't think they're going to take a ton of risks. I think they're going to try to grind out the game, get out with a win. And I know their defense can keep them in it, despite just getting throttled by Drew Lock in Missouri last week. So I like the under. I like under 54, Florida at home. I'm just going to ride it.
I don't doubt that this is a very good opportunity for Florida to come away with the win here. Looking at this line, sitting at, let me see, what was the updated? The updated line is 6.5. Does Florida get a win by a touchdown here? By the way, just not on the books, just out of curiosity. I just want to know what you're thinking.
I was originally going to take that, and then I was reading
Why?
a little bit more.
Why were you originally going to take that and then went with this?
Because of the quarterback situation. I was originally going to take them if I knew Franks was going to play the whole game. I think they can win by 7. I'm worried they're going to get too passive making quarterback changes, and there's also a risk you don't get into rhythm, right? If you play multiple quarterbacks and they each go 3 and out in the first drive, you start expressing a lot of doubt. You don't get into a rhythm. There's less time to work out the kinks throughout the game and make adjustments, especially if they're different styles. So I'm just a little leery of that situation. I think their defense keeps them in it, and I think that's why it's lower scoring also. Especially if they have dual threat quarter. If Emory Jones plays, they might run the ball a lot. They may center it around read options.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea.
No, I have no idea what Mullen's thinking with where he's going to land, with who's going to get the nod. I think he's going to start Franks, but I think most likely they're both going to play.
Ooh.
Trask and Franks, they both get time.
Okay, all right. You know,
that was my reason for the doubt by just taking the Gators straight up. I went with the under.
I can understand that. Oh man, I wanted to give out an under for me. I have not given out an under all year long, and I'm looking at some of these Sunbelt totals as we speak, as they've been shifting in the whole 9 yards, and it is incredibly hard for me to pick an under in any of these. You have the 60.5 for Coastal Carolina and Arkansas State. I know everyone thinks, Arkansas State, they should put them up, but Coastal Carolina is horrible at passing. They're horrible, but they're okay Sunbelt wise as far as the run is concerned. But Arkansas State is awful at covering the run. They're awful. So it's unbelievable to me. I'm like, is Coastal going to pass? I don't know. I can't get a read on it. Looking at UL Lafayette, I got burned by them last week. And so, they're playing Georgia State, but I don't know if Georgia State's quarterback's going to be in the game. I'm looking at this UL Monroe over against South Alabama. I think that was a good spot for them. And but I don't know if Orth, the quarterback from South Alabama, is going to be there. And everyone's going, how do you even know these losers' names? And I'm like, well, they're not really losers. They're just, they're just in the Sun Belt. They have a chance. I'm going to stick away from an over and an under. I'm actually going to make a pick. And I'm going to take Georgia Southern over Troy. Georgia Southern's +1 right now. I'm going to take, I don't even know if I could do it. It's like so hard for me. Georgia Southern's at home. Troy has been playing very well of late. I am so shocked that they lost last week against UL Monroe, who's awful. But even looking at their schedule and who they've played and who they've beat, I mean, Georgia Southern is what are they, 2? They've got 8-2 right now. I mean, they're having an incredible season by their standards again. I just have to be led to believe that they're better than Troy. I know that Troy has done well since they lost Barker. and I think they've won all their games, actually, to be honest with you. The only game they lost was, to Liberty, but they didn't care. They did not care at all about losing that game. But everything else, they've pretty much been the status quo. And it's hard for me not to think that, oh man, Fuhrmy, I'm like struggling. This is horrible. I can't even, you can't even give me a read because you don't even have two picks on this. Unbelievable. I can't. It's too hard for me. Oh my goodness. And I need a third pick. Fuhrmy, tell me what else you're thinking here. Tell me you had another games you were looking at while I'm trying to figure this out. I've never struggled this much with the game.
Or not. So I've been picking the SEC all year, of course. I stuck to it. I'm going to do it throughout the remainder of the season. But my non-SEC pick of the week, I love Ohio State this week.
Oh, my God. Why?
At Michigan State. Love it.
Why do you like that?
So I think they're in a situation where they need to win, right? I don't think they're going to get into the playoffs anyway, but I think their need for a blowout win is higher now than it has been all season. They need help to get into the college football playoff, and they're also not out of it. Urban Meyer knows that he's like he's been forever. He will bury teams. And just run up the score, especially in a statement game. So I'm taking Ohio State. I think the line is -3.5 right now.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that would be if I had to pick a lock of the week outside the SEC, that would be it. I like it a lot.
Ooh, over-under is 49. Wow, that's low. That is a low total. That is a super low total. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know what? This is unbelievable. I can't believe this. I'm thinking out loud. This is, boy, if you're taking our picks, I would stay away from this one. There is something that I am just not reading right about this. It is utterly confusing me, and I am going to go the total opposite way. I can't believe that I'm going to do this because it was against my original intuition. It was to go under, and I can't. Oh my God, it's so awful. I don't even have one. I had one other pick. I might just have to just go with my original gut. I'm going to, because I actually believed in this. I put this down the list. I wanted to give a Sunbelt pick, but I'm going to give this one out instead. I like this over for Tulane in East Carolina. It's at 53.5. It dropped down from 55.5. I think 55 is actually the magical number. Watching East Carolina the past couple weeks, seeing how they play, and Tulane with their offense, I think things are starting to kind of get in sync there just a little bit more. I understand their record may not dictate that the whole way, but the fact is that I think looking at this game on print, I think East Carolina is doing everything that they can to just get the ball going, to get this game moving, to get the points on the board. So I am going to take East Carolina, Tulane, over 53.5. It's at 110 right now. I would even sit on that. I take the hook because I think this game should go over the total. So Fuhrmy's got Georgia -13.5 over Auburn, Kentucky -5 over Tennessee, and under 54 for Florida, South Carolina. I had struggled for the past 10 minutes to get to a cliffhanger game where I take over for Tulane, East Carolina, 53.5. Over for Illinois, Nebraska, and then over 59 for Purdue, and now they're getting and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Fuhrmy, you have any thoughts for college basketball before we get going here?
Well, just real quick, I obviously watched the Duke-Kentucky game, and my God, did Duke look good. Kentucky, again, they're obviously both teams are pretty young. I just think Duke has so much just athletic ability. I thought it was unbelievable how good they looked. And then the Kansas-Michigan State game was great, too. It was actually just a really good game, I thought. just back and forth. Kansas got out the lead and sort of held it. So, if I remember correctly, I picked both of those right last week. Of course, they were straight winners, but
well, they covered too. It wouldn't have mattered. They covered as well.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Very interesting. What we got? Doesn't Duke play tonight, or no? North Carolina plays tonight.
Yeah, I think Carolina plays tonight. Duke plays Sunday. I think they get Army on Sunday.
Are they still an up-tempo team? Did they just they're at Elon? Is the over on this one's 151? What do you think of that? And Kentucky plays tonight, and that over at 7:00 is at 148. What do you think about that? Does Kentucky put up another 100 spot?
I don't know. Actually, I mean they're going to run, of course. I think they'll probably put up 90.
Oh, geez.
High 80s to 90. You know what I mean? High 80s to 90. I would probably take both overs, to be honest. That pace of play in that Duke game looked like an NBA score.
Oh, that was insane. That was absolutely and totally insane. It was that Zion Williamson. I know everyone. That's such a cliche thing to talk about him, but wow, that guy is unbelievable.
Well, he's built like it's just he's a freak.
He shouldn't be in the NCAA. He should be playing in the NBA. Like, why is he wasting his time?
Yeah, there are very few guys that are physically mature enough to do it right out of high school. And even if you look back at LeBron, how LeBron looked when he was in high school, he was pretty. I mean, he was built, of course, but he was pretty scrawny.
Yeah, he didn't look like him.
Kid, right? Yeah, and then I mean, my God, Zion. I mean, he made LeBron really like if you compare photos from their high school days. I mean, he is huge.
He's huge. He's huge. Gets me excited for me. Hey, listen, hang on the line. I'm going to close this out.
All right.
Hey, so listen, another Fun with Fuhrmy. We had the Friday edition. Loved it. A little bit off the cuff here, but that's how we like to do it. Let's get after it this week for our Gambler on the Go. Once again, over 59 for Purdue, Minnesota for me. Over 69 for Illinois, Nebraska, and over 53.5 for Tulane, East Carolina. Fuhrmy with that Georgia minus 13.5 over Auburn, Kentucky minus 5 over Tennessee, and then under 54 for Florida, South Carolina. Hey, we're going to start trying to get a little college basketball in here as well. We'll be a little bit more precise with that. Those games come day to day, but we got to try to get them in there as best as we can, and we'll try to beat those 7 o'clock tip-offs. Even if we do a little bit of look-ahead lines, we'll do the best that we can. So, regardless, have a great weekend. Stay out of the snow, and best of luck, and we will talk to you guys.